Have you ever been told to trust your instincts? That little voice in your head that tells you something's wrong. I ignored mine once, and it almost cost me everything. I was 12 years old, home alone for the first time, and I made a decision that still haunts me 15 years later. What I'm about to tell you isn't just about being scared. It's about the moment I realized that monsters don't always look like monsters. And sometimes, the most dangerous thing you can do is open a door. Here's what happened that night. This happened when I was 12 years old, living in a quiet suburb in Oregon. It was a Tuesday evening in March, and both my parents had to attend my grandmother's emergency surgery about an hour away. They debated taking me with them, but I convinced them I was old enough to stay home alone for a few hours. Looking back now, I should have just gone with them. They left around 6 in the evening. My dad made me promise to keep all the doors locked, not to answer the door for anyone, and to call them immediately if anything felt wrong. I remember feeling so grown up and responsible as I watched their car pull out of the driveway. I had the whole house to myself, snacks in the kitchen, and my favorite TV shows queued up. Everything felt normal, safe. I made myself dinner, some mac and cheese, and settled on the couch to watch TV. Our house was a typical 2-story home with the living room right by the front entrance. Large windows faced the street. I kept the curtains open because I liked being able to see outside. It made me feel less alone. Around 8:30, I started noticing a car parked across the street. It was a dark sedan, and I could see someone sitting in the driver's seat. At first, I didn't think much of it. Maybe they were waiting for someone. But after 20 minutes, the car was still there. The person inside hadn't moved. I told myself I was being paranoid. People park on streets all the time. But then I noticed the car's interior light flick on briefly. The person inside was looking at a piece of paper, then looking up at the houses. Looking at my house specifically. My stomach did a little flip, but I tried to ignore it. I closed the curtains and turned up the TV volume. About 15 minutes later, my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but I answered it anyway. A man's voice came through. He said, "Hi, is your mom or dad home?" I hesitated. My dad had told me never to tell strangers I was alone, so I lied and said, "Yeah, but they're busy right now. Can I take a message?" There was a pause. Then he said, "Oh, that's okay. I'll call back later." And he hung up. Something about his voice made my skin crawl. It sounded fake, too friendly. I looked out the window through a gap in the curtains. The car was still there. 10 minutes passed. The phone rang again. Same number. This time, I didn't answer. I let it go to voicemail. He didn't leave a message. My heart was starting to pound now. I knew something was wrong. I could feel it in my bones. I texted my parents, trying to keep my message calm. "Hey, someone keeps calling from a weird number. I'm okay, but thought you should know." My dad called me immediately. He sounded worried and told me to keep all the doors locked and all the lights on. He said they were about 45 minutes away and would come home as soon as they could. He stayed on the phone with me for a few minutes, and I felt better hearing his voice. But then, about 5 minutes after we hung up, I heard something that made my blood run cold. The sound of footsteps on our front porch. I froze on the couch. I wasn't imagining it. Someone was definitely out there. I heard the footsteps move slowly across the wooden porch. Then they stopped right in front of the door. The doorknob started to turn. I had locked it. I knew I had locked it. The doorknob jiggled more forcefully. Someone was trying to get in. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and ran upstairs as quietly as I could. I went into my parents' bedroom and locked the door behind me. I called 911. The operator answered, and I whispered that someone was trying to break into my house. She asked for my address, and I gave it to her. She told me to stay on the line and stay quiet. She said police were on their way. While I was whispering to the operator, I heard it. The sound of breaking glass downstairs. He had gotten in. I crawled into my parents' closet and pushed myself into the back corner behind my mom's dresses. The operator was still on the line, telling me to stay calm, that police were almost there. I could hear footsteps downstairs. They were walking through the house. Then I heard them on the stairs, coming up. Each step felt like it took forever. My heart was hammering so hard I thought he would hear it. The footsteps reached the top of the stairs. They moved down the hallway, past my room, past the bathroom. Then they stopped outside my parents' bedroom door. The doorknob turned. It was locked, but that didn't matter. He kicked the door. Once. Twice. On the third kick, I heard the wood splinter. The door flew open. I pressed myself harder against the wall. I wasn't breathing. The operator was saying something, but I couldn't hear her anymore. All I could hear was footsteps entering the bedroom. Then I heard the closet door slide open. That's when the sirens started. Loud and close. The footsteps stopped. For a moment, everything was silent. Then I heard him run. Fast footsteps down the stairs, through the house, and out the broken window. The police arrived less than a minute later. They found me in the closet, still holding the phone, unable to stop shaking. One officer stayed with me while others searched the house and the area. They found the car abandoned down the street. The man was gone. The police told my parents, who arrived right after them, that I had done everything right. They said the guy had been watching the house, probably saw my parents leave, and called to confirm I was alone. They said cases like this happen more than people think. People who target homes with kids alone inside. They never caught him. The car was stolen, and he left no fingerprints. Security cameras in the neighborhood were too grainy to get a good look at his face. I'm 27 now, and I still can't sleep with my bedroom door unlocked. I check every window 3 times before bed, and I never, ever answer calls from numbers I don't recognize. Because sometimes I still wonder what would have happened if those sirens had arrived just 1 minute later. What he would have done when he reached the back of that closet. I'll never know, and maybe that's the worst part, the not knowing. This happened in the summer of 2008. I was 12 years old, and my parents had hired a new babysitter named Miss Caroline. She was 19, studying at the local college, and my parents really liked her. She seemed responsible and mature. My younger brother Tommy was 8, and we usually got babysat together maybe once or twice a month when my parents had their date nights. Miss Caroline had been our babysitter for about 3 months by this point, and everything had always been fine. She'd make us dinner, let us watch a movie, then send us to bed. Nothing unusual ever happened. That particular Saturday night started out completely normal. My parents left around 6:30 in the evening, reminding us to behave and listen to Miss Caroline. She ordered pizza for us, and we ate while watching some cartoon movie in the living room. Tommy fell asleep on the couch around 8:30, which wasn't unusual for him. Miss Caroline carried him upstairs to his bedroom, and I followed behind. After she tucked Tommy in, she turned to me in the hallway. Her expression was different, serious. She looked nervous about something. "I need to tell you something," she whispered, "but you have to promise not to tell your parents." I felt uncomfortable immediately, but I nodded. Adults asking kids to keep secrets always felt wrong to me, even then. "My boyfriend is downstairs," she said quietly. "He came over to keep me company. Your parents can't know. If you tell them, I'll lose this job and I really need the money. Can you keep this secret?" I didn't know what to say. Having someone over that my parents didn't know about felt wrong, but I also didn't want to get her in trouble. I just nodded again. "Thank you," she said, touching my shoulder. "Just stay in your room and play video games or something. We'll be downstairs. Don't come down unless it's an emergency, okay?" I went to my room and closed the door. I tried playing games on my computer, but I couldn't focus. Something about the whole situation made me feel uneasy. I kept thinking about how my parents trusted her, and she was lying to them. What else might she lie about? Around 9:15, I heard voices downstairs. Not just 2 voices, more than that. Maybe 3 or 4 different people. They were being quiet, but I could hear the floorboards creaking with multiple footsteps. There was some laughter, some whispers. At first, I thought maybe I was hearing things wrong. Maybe it was just the TV. But then I heard the back door open and close. More footsteps. More voices. I opened my bedroom door slightly and crept to the top of the stairs. I couldn't see into the living room from that angle, but I could hear better. There were definitely multiple people down there. I counted at least 4 different voices, maybe 5. Miss Caroline had brought multiple people into our house. My stomach felt sick. I thought about Tommy sleeping in his room. I thought about how my parents had trusted her. I went back to my room and sat on my bed, trying to figure out what to do. That's when I smelled it. Cigarette smoke. It was coming up through the vents. Someone was smoking in our house. I grabbed my cell phone from my desk. My hands were shaking. I knew I had to call my parents, but I was terrified of what Miss Caroline might do if she found out. She'd specifically told me not to tell them. She'd made me promise. But the smell of smoke got stronger. I heard glass breaking downstairs, followed by laughter. Someone shouted something I couldn't make out. The voices were getting louder, less careful about being quiet. I dialed my dad's number. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, buddy, everything okay?" "Dad," I whispered. "Miss Caroline brought people over. A lot of people. They're smoking, and I heard something break, and I'm scared." There was a pause. Then my dad's voice changed completely. It became very calm, but very serious. "Lock your bedroom door right now," he said. "Do it quietly. Then go wake up Tommy and bring him into your room and lock that door too. Don't go downstairs. Don't let anyone in. We're leaving right now. We'll be home in 15 minutes." I did exactly what he said. I locked my door as quietly as I could. Then I snuck across the hall to Tommy's room. I woke him up gently and whispered for him to come with me. He was confused and sleepy, but he followed me back to my room. We sat on my bed together in the dark. I kept my phone in my hand. Tommy asked what was wrong, but I told him to be quiet. The voices downstairs got even louder. Music started playing. Someone turned it down quickly, but I'd heard it. They were having a party in our house, while we were supposed to be sleeping upstairs. Then I heard footsteps coming up the stairs. I grabbed Tommy and pulled him into my closet. We sat in the corner, behind my hanging clothes. I put my hand over his mouth because he started to whimper. The footsteps walked past my door. They went to the bathroom. I heard the door close. The toilet flushed a minute later. The door opened again. The footsteps walked back downstairs. Tommy was crying silently now. I was too scared to cry. I just kept listening. More footsteps on the stairs. More people going to the bathroom. Back and forth. Each time someone came up, I held my breath. I kept waiting for someone to try my door handle. Then I heard my dad's voice downstairs, loud and angry. I'd never heard him sound like that before. "Get out of my house, now, all of you." There was scrambling, voices talking over each other. The back door opened and closed multiple times. More scrambling. My mom was yelling too, but I couldn't make out her words. Then my dad's footsteps came up the stairs, fast and heavy. He knocked on my door. "Boys, it's Dad. You can open up." I unlocked the door and we came out of the closet. My dad hugged us both so tight I could barely breathe. My mom came up right after and started checking us over, asking if anyone had come into our rooms or talked to us. Miss Caroline was already gone. My parents had apparently called the police on their way home, and a cop car pulled up a few minutes after we came downstairs. There were beer bottles on the coffee table, cigarette butts in a plate, a broken picture frame on the floor. Our back door was wide open. The police took a report and told my parents they'd follow up with Miss Caroline. I don't know what happened to her after that. We never saw her again. My parents felt horrible for weeks. They kept apologizing to us, especially to me since I was old enough to understand what had happened. They said they'd been more careful about background checks and references, but that sometimes people just fool you. To this day, I still think about that night. I think about those 3 hours between when she told me her secret and when I called my dad. I think about how she looked me in the eye and asked me to keep a promise that put me and my brother in danger. I think about the footsteps outside my door. I think about sitting in that closet with Tommy, listening to strangers walk around our house. I'm 28 now. I have my own kids, and I will never, ever hire a babysitter without cameras in every room, because you never really know who you're trusting with the people you love most.